Hey, I'm Kay. Welcome to Kay's Chit-Chat, where your quiet thoughts become stories and your stories might help someone else feel less alone. Finding treasure in my husband's car. I opened Chad's glove compartment to find the car registration, but instead my hand touched a rectangular cardboard box. Blue Trojan. Open box. The Texas afternoon sun was beating down on the windshield, hot on my shoulders. Sweat dripped down my collarbone. I just sat there in the driver's seat, my hand still inside the compartment, my fingertips running over the cardboard. I pulled the box out. Trojan, her pleasure, 12 condoms. I gave it a little shake. The foil packets rattled against each other. I opened the lid and poured them into my palm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 left. I looked back in the box and counted the empty spots. 7 were gone. The box was old. Corners bent, the clear plastic front a little scratched. This thing had been in the glove compartment for a while. I closed my eyes. Heat from the dashboard rose up against my arm. The air in the car smelled like old Starbucks cups and cheap perfume, the kind I'd never use. We haven't used condoms since Jacob was born. 3 years. 3 years, 2 months, and 4 days. I know because after I had our second kid, the doctor told me my ovaries were still as active as back in college. Chad was sitting right there, laughed, and said, "Good, I hate those rubber things." I opened my eyes, my thumb pressed down on the first foil packet. It made a little pop sound. I didn't cry. That surprised me more than the box. I thought I would cry. I'd imagined this scene hundreds of times from those TV dramas I watch at 2 a.m. when I can't sleep. The wife finds out, tears, throwing things, screaming, but I just sat there, holding the box, my butt sticking to the hot leather seat. And the only feeling in my chest wasn't pain. It was curiosity. The clean, cold kind, like when you see a flame on a gas stove and wonder where it'll spread if you just leave it alone. I looked out the window. Empty front yard. Our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was pulling a hose to water her plants. She wasn't looking at me. Chad was working late, like always, busy with meetings, busy with clients, busy with something I'd never checked on. Until today. I put the box in my purse, stuffed it at the bottom, under Mia's book and my wallet, zipped it shut, closed the car door. Keys jingled in my hand as I walked across the grass. My footsteps on the pathway made a steady beat. Thump, thump, thump. My hands didn't shake. My chest didn't tighten. I opened the front door. In the kitchen, golden orange light from the west window stretched across the tile floor. I put my purse on the counter, unzipped it, and took out the Trojan box, set it next to the salt shaker and the knife block. I opened the fridge. Cold air hit my face, drying out my eyes. They still weren't wet. My hand moved through the shelves, kids' milk, last night's leftovers, a few lemons, and then I saw it. A bright orange habanero pepper. I bought it on Tuesday because Mia wanted to try making spicy salsa like on TikTok. She ate a pea-sized bite and cried for 15 minutes. The rest was still in the fridge, untouched. I picked it up. It was small, just the size of my thumb tip, but its color was so bright it looked like a poisonous candy. The skin was wrinkled, a little soft under my fingers. I brought it to my nose. Didn't smell like much, but I knew just one little cut, just one touch to the eye, and this thing would burn everything. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It wasn't a crazy smile either. It was the smile of someone who just found the last piece of a game she didn't even know she was playing. Marriage is a game. Chad doesn't know I always play to win. I put the pepper on the kitchen counter right next to the condom box. Blue and orange, Trojan and habanero. An art installation for a family falling apart. Trojan. At least he has decent taste. I pulled out a chair and sat down. The back of the chair pressed against my shoulder blades, a little stiff. I put my hands on the table and stared at the 2 things in front of me. 5 left, 7 used. I started counting in my head. 7 times. Chad's not a romantic guy. He doesn't keep souvenirs. If this box was in his car, that meant he used them recently. So recently, he hadn't gotten around to throwing it away. So where? In the car? No, his car is parked at work all day with security cameras. A hotel? A parking lot behind a movie theater? Some motel I saw on his phone 6 months ago when he left it in the bathroom. I never asked about that text. I just saw it, remembered it, and waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for. But now I know. I opened the box again. Took out 1 foil packet. It was lighter than I expected. I turned it over, reading the small print on the back. Used correctly to prevent pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases. Yeah, prevention. If Chad cared about prevention, I wouldn't have been on birth control shots for 3 years. I put the packet on the table next to the pepper, then I took out another, then another. 5 packets in a row, 5 silver blue candies. I reached out and touched the pepper. My fingertip pressed gently on its skin, feeling how tight it was. A faint, oily spot stuck to my finger. I didn't wash my hand. "Where are you going tomorrow?" I whispered into the empty kitchen. My voice was hoarse, not because I was about to cry, but because I hadn't said a word for 30 minutes. I looked out the window. It was starting to get dark. Pink and orange clouds stretched toward the horizon, like scratches on the sky's skin. Definitely not fishing. Definitely not fishing. I started taking each condom out of its wrapper. How to cook for your husband, first lesson. I put on yellow rubber gloves, not for doing dishes. I picked up a condom, gently stretched the tip, and poked a tiny hole with a sharp needle. Repeated 5 times. Morning light poured through the window above the sink, spreading across the granite counter. I sat up straight on the bar stool, elbows on the cold stone. Every time I poked the needle, I held my breath. Poke. My hands didn't shake. My thumb and forefinger held the thin plastic tight, stretching it like drum skin. The needle tip went through with a little resistance. A soft pop. So quiet, nobody standing next to me would hear it. Poke. I flipped the condom over and looked at it in the sunlight. A pinhole. Invisible. Unless you knew where to look. Like a hole in a promise. Poke. I poked all 5, 1 hole each, small enough that they wouldn't leak right away, big enough that after a while everything would soak through. I'd never been this careful cooking for my husband before. This pepper dish is really special. I set the 5 treated condoms aside on a paper plate. The rubber gloves stuck to my hands, a little sweaty inside. I couldn't take them off yet. I still had more to do. I took 3 habanero peppers out of the fridge. This morning they looked brighter orange than I remembered, almost glowing under the kitchen lights. I put them on the wooden cutting board. My knife, the 12-inch Japanese knife Chad gave me in our 2nd year of marriage, with the words, "You cook so well, you need good tools," was already waiting on the counter. I'd never used this knife for anything spicier than a bell pepper. I cut off the stems. The pepper smell hit me right away, sharp, green, making the inside of my nose tighten. I cut the peppers in half, then chopped each half into tiny little squares. My skin under the gloves started to feel hot. Not from temperature, from the pepper oil soaking into the gloves. I sneezed. The first one was light, just a sudden strong sniff, my shoulders jerking up. I brought my gloved hand up to cover my nose and immediately regretted it. The pepper smell on the gloves went straight up my nostrils. I sneezed again, harder, my eyes watered. I laughed. I burst out laughing in that quiet Saturday morning kitchen at 8 a.m., wearing yellow gloves, cutting board full of orange peppers, tears running down my face from the burn. I looked like a crazy scientist making a bomb. Maybe I was. I used the knife to push the chopped peppers into a glass bowl. Added some warm water from the faucet. I turned it on and let it run over my hand until it was a little warmer than my skin. Poured it into the bowl. The water covered the pepper pieces, turning into a pale orange soup. The smell got stronger. The bridge of my nose burned. I sneezed a 3rd time. I grabbed a pair of chopsticks and stirred. The pepper pieces spun around in the water, releasing their oil. The surface of the water shimmered like someone spilled motor oil on it. I dipped my gloved hand into the bowl. Warm water, slightly spicy. I picked up each condom and dropped them in. The first one floated up looking like a little cloudy jellyfish. I used the chopsticks to push it down. It floated back up. I pushed again. This time it stayed at the bottom, next to a piece of pepper skin. The second one, the third one. All 5 sank after I stabbed each one with the chopsticks, like I was skewering fish. I set the microwave timer, 60 minutes. The digital screen blinked blue, 1 hour. I washed the knife, washed the cutting board, took off the yellow gloves. They snapped off my wrists with a wet pop. The skin underneath was red, not from burns, but from sweat, trapped inside the gloves for 15 minutes. I made a cup of coffee, the dark roast Chad buys at Whole Foods, the one that smells like chocolate and cinnamon that he brags to his friends about like he roasted it himself. I poured hot water through the filter, watching the black liquid drip into the pot. Steam rose up, mixing with the pepper smell still hanging in the air. I sat down on the living room couch, the hot coffee cup warming my palms. My feet went up on the coffee table. My phone sat next to my thigh. I opened Facebook. Saturday morning feed. Some mom's pancake picture, a cat video, a political post I scrolled past. And then I saw it. Brittany. An angled selfie, her in big sunglasses, hair down, some beach I didn't recognize behind her. Caption, "Weekend getaway with my special someone." I raised my eyebrow. My finger scrolled past it, pausing for just half a second before moving on. I didn't like it. Didn't comment, didn't stalk. I just looked. Brittany, my college best friend. The one who stood next to me at my wedding. The one whose tears I wiped when she broke up with Jake in 2018. The one Chad always asked about a little too carefully every time she came over. I took a sip of coffee, hot, bitter. The kitchen timer went ding. I put my cup down and walked into the kitchen. Got a new pair of gloves from the drawer. Put them on. My fingers clicked into each slot. I fished each condom out of the pepper water with the chopsticks. They were soaking wet, shiny, slightly yellow-orange in color. I laid them on a paper towel, flipping them over to dry them off. 5 of them, in a row. I looked at the wall clock, 8:47 a.m. Chad was still asleep. I could hear his soft snoring through the ceiling, that steady, raspy sound I'd gotten used to for 10 years. I put each condom back in the box, carefully. Same order as before, which one was on top, which on bottom. Closed the lid. The blue Trojan box looked exactly the same as before, except for one faint wet smudge on the corner where I didn't wipe well enough. I walked out to the car. The morning sun was already harsh. The driveway asphalt reflected blinding white light that made me squint. Opened the car door. Heat from inside rushed out, smelling like leather seats and dust. I opened the glove compartment. Put the box back. Same spot, leaning against the left side, bent corner facing out. Closed the compartment, closed the car door. The door went thud. I went back inside. In the kitchen, I took off the gloves, threw them in the trash with the paper towel and leftover peppers, poured the orange water down the sink, running cold water until the color was gone. The smell was still there. I turned on the vent fan. Chad came down the stairs. He was wearing gray athletic shorts and an old white t-shirt, hair messy, eyes squinting against the light. He ran his hand through his hair. That familiar move, fingers moving through his thick brown hair. "What did you make this morning? Kitchen smells weird." His voice was hoarse, hadn't brushed his teeth yet. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed over my chest. My palms were still a little red and warm even without the gloves. "Oh, I was practicing a new sauce, really spicy." He nodded, didn't ask more. Opened the fridge, got the milk carton, poured some into a glass, took a sip, milk on his upper lip. I watched him. He didn't watch me. His eyes stayed on the fridge like he was looking for something. "I'm going over to help Mom with something." I smiled. My face muscles pulled up evenly, lips not pressed tight, teeth not showing. Perfect good wife smile. "Okay, go ahead. Just be careful you don't get burned." Chad put his milk glass down, walked over to me. He leaned in, aiming for a kiss on my cheek. I turned my head to the right just enough so his lips hit air instead of my skin. "I still smell like peppers," I said. "Not good for you." He laughed. That half smile he uses in all our family photos. "All right, I'm heading out." I heard him grab his car keys. The front door opened. The front door closed. Then silence. If you knew what I just did, you wouldn't be asking about moisturizer. I walked to the sink, turned on cold water, stuck my red hands under the stream. My skin stung slightly, like a mild sunburn. I looked out the window. Chad's car was backing out of the driveway. He didn't look back. I dried my hands on a towel. The pepper smell was still under my fingernails, even though I'd worn gloves all morning. When will he use those condoms? Today, tomorrow? Whenever that special someone is free. I laughed to myself in the empty kitchen. And I started planning the kids' breakfast. 3 hours of waiting, drama peaks. Chad left at 9:17. I started the timer. 3 hours. Enough time for a condom to work, or not. I wasn't sure, but I was sure of one thing. I'd never seen time move so slow. I stood up from the couch, sat down, stood up again. The living room felt huge. Morning light came through the beige curtains, making long stripes on the carpet. I looked at Jacob's toys scattered on the floor under the table. Some Lego cars, a picture book. I bent down and picked them up. My hand grabbed a red car, put it in the toy basket, grabbed a blue car, put it in the basket. My eyes never left my phone sitting on the table. I cleaned for 15 minutes, wiped dust off the TV stand, rearranged the pillows on the couch. But every time I turned my back to the phone, the back of my neck got stiff. The muscles behind my neck tightened, like someone was pulling a string from my spine. I turned back, picked up the phone, black screen, no messages, no missed calls. 9:42. I put the phone down, then picked it up again, unlocked the screen, locked the screen. I'd never felt so useless with my own phone. I walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge. Cold air hit my face, making the pores on my cheeks shrink. My eyes scanned the shelves, milk, eggs, leftover containers. And then I saw it. The ice cream. Chocolate chip cookie dough flavor. I bought for Mia until she said, "Mom, I don't like this flavor anymore." The container was almost full. I took it out, opened the lid. I ate straight from the container. My spoon dug into the soft ice cream, scooping up an egg-sized chunk, brought it to my mouth. The cold made my teeth ache. The sweet, creamy taste stuck to my tongue. Too stressed, I told myself, and scooped another one. I sat down at the kitchen table, ice cream on my left, phone on my right. The wall clock ticked. Every tick felt like a little needle prick in the back of my brain. 10:15. I ate a third of the ice cream container. My stomach started to feel cold. A little heartburn pushed up into my throat, chocolate and cream mixing together. I checked the clock 5 more times in the next 10 minutes. Every time I looked, my neck turned 30 degrees. The left side of my neck stretched, pulling down toward my collarbone. 10:30. I put the ice cream back in the fridge, washed the spoon, dried my hands on my pants. The phone stayed still on the kitchen table, its glass screen reflecting the ceiling light. 10:45. I picked up the phone again. Nothing. I set it on the couch, then picked it up again, then set it down again. My palms were sweaty, not from heat, but from this restless feeling crawling up from my lower belly. I'd never felt like this before. Not worry, not fear. It felt like standing at the top of a roller coaster, right before it drops, heart pounding in my chest, hands clenched tight, and part of my brain whispering, like, what the hell are you doing? And another part whispering, but it's fun, right? 11:15. I sat on the couch, knees pulled up to my chest, chin on my knees. My phone sat in my lap. My eyes stared at the screen without blinking. So long that my eyes got dry and scratchy, and I blinked hard 3 times, my eyelids smacking together with a soft click. 11:30. The phone rang. I jumped. My whole body bounced off the couch like a spring. My heart slammed one hard beat against my ribs. I could feel it in my throat. My hand grabbed the phone, fingers squeezing the edges. The screen said a Brittany calling. My breath caught. My chest swelled up, then fell. I closed my eye, opened them, looked at the screen again. Brittany, I answered. Hey, Britt, what's up? My voice was normal. No, more than normal. I sounded like I just woke up from a great nap. Like nothing in the world could bother me. My face muscles relaxed, my lips pressed together into a slight curve. On the other end of the line, Brittany was breathing hard. Not the out-of-breath from running kind. The kind of breathing someone does when they just went through something way too intense. Vivian, oh my God, you won't believe what happened. Brittany's voice was both breathless and excited, like a kid who just saw Santa. Last night with my boyfriend, and I don't know how to say this, but down there, it's burning so bad, like actually on fire. I was quiet. 3 seconds. In my head, a voice screamed, bingo. My face muscles tried to stay still, but the corners of my mouth started twitching. I bit the inside of my cheek. The faint taste of blood spread on my tongue. Burning? I asked, sounding as naturally curious as I could. Where exactly? Like down there. Brittany talked fast, her voice going up half an octave. I had to take a cold shower. It's all red and burning. And he said he's burning too. My ears got hot. Blood rushed to my earlobes, making them turn red. I used my free hand to rub my ear, but it was still hot. Who's your boyfriend again? I asked, my voice still steady. Brittany hesitated. I could hear her swallow over the phone. A faint little gulp, clear as day. Oh, just someone new I met. You don't know him. Right, don't know him. Of course I don't. Okay, I said, like maybe the condom was defective. It happens, Britt. Defective? Brittany repeated, confused. But we just bought them, like Thursday. I didn't say anything. My fingers dug into the couch cushion, nails sinking into the fabric. Thursday, I repeated, like a robot. Yeah, me and my boyfriend bought them together. At the CVS on Bel Air. He even said the Her Pleasure kind was more expensive, but worth it. Worth it. I laughed. Not out loud, I held it in. But my whole diaphragm jerked up once, pushing air through my throat in a little huh sound. What was that? Brittany asked. Cough, I said. No, just a little cough. Drank water wrong. I hadn't drunk any water. But Brittany didn't know that. You should see a doctor, Britt, I said, my voice so serious it surprised even me. Maybe you're allergic to something or your boyfriend used a new body wash. Yeah, maybe, Brittany sighed. I'll get some cream. What kind do you think I should buy? Any kind, I said, and as long as the package says emergency on it. Brittany laughed. I laughed too. Our laughter mixed together over the phone, 2 close friends sharing a joke. If she knew why I was really laughing, she'd probably never call me again. We talked for a few more minutes. I told Brittany to drink lots of water, don't scratch, see a doctor if it doesn't go away. She thanked me, called me the best big sister I've ever had, and hung up. I put the phone down on the couch, and then I burst out laughing. It came from deep in my belly, a loud, explosive laugh I couldn't hold back. My stomach muscles clenched over and over, hurting like someone was punching my gut. I threw my head back, mouth wide open, eyes squeezed shut. Tears ran from the corners of my eyes, not from sadness, but from laughing so hard my tear ducts couldn't handle it. I laughed until my stomach hurt. Actually hurt. My hands wrapped around my belly, fingers pressing into the clenching muscles. I fell sideways on the couch, facing the pillow, but the laughter wouldn't stop. Burning, I repeated, my voice breaking between laughs. Literally burning. I rolled over, gasping. My temples ached from lack of oxygen. My face was hot, cheeks red, lips dry. I sat up, wiped my tears with the back of my hand, looked at the clock. 11:47. Chad still wasn't home. I looked out the window. The street was empty. The sun was high, throwing the shadow of the oak tree across the grass. I wonder where he is right now. Holding an ice pack? I laughed again. Softer this time, just a snort through my nose. My nose still stung a little from the pepper smell this morning, even though it had been hours. I picked up my phone, opened the chat with Chad, typed, "Coming home for lunch?" Then deleted it. "Is your mom okay?" Deleted again. I turned off the screen, put the phone down, and stared at the ceiling. 3 hours, only 2.5 had passed. I had 30 more minutes to wonder, did Chad use the condoms? Or did he actually go to his mom's house today? I laughed to myself in the empty living room. I bet he used them. And I bet right now he's very, very uncomfortable. The husband comes home with an ice pack. Chad walked in the door. His walk was weird. Legs a little wide apart, slow, like a penguin with a sore foot. He was carrying an ice pack. Not a small one, a big one, the kind you use after surgery. I was sitting on the couch, a book open on my lap. My eyes had been glued to the page for the last 20 minutes, but I couldn't remember a single word. I was just listening, waiting for the familiar sound of his car engine. And now he was home. Door open, shoes on the floor. I looked up, trying to put the right expression on my face. Worried, but not too worried. Concerned, but not too concerned. I'd been practicing this since this morning in front of the bathroom mirror. It worked. "What happened to you?" I asked, putting my book down. My voice went up half an octave, with a little surprises mixed in. "Is your mom okay?" Chad shuffled into the living room. Every step he took was strangely careful. Like any sudden move might make his body fall apart. He was holding a light blue ice pack, so big it covered half his lower belly. "Yeah, mom's fine." His voice was hoarse, and he wasn't looking at me. His eyes were glued to the floor, the wall, anything but my face. "But I had an accident at work. Got burned." I tilted my head. My shoulders relaxed, making a 15-degree angle, just enough to look like I was listening closely. Inside my chest, my heart was beating faster than normal. Not from worry, from a different feeling. A feeling crawling up from my lower belly to my throat, begging to come out as a laugh. I swallowed it down. My neck muscles tightened, pushing the smile deep into my throat. Burned with what? Chad finally sat down on the chair, the brown armchair by the window. He sat down slowly, like the chair was lined with broken glass. First his butt touched the seat, then he slowly leaned back. And finally, with a clumsy move, he put the ice pack on, right where it needed to go. I looked, then looked away. My eyes went to the window, out to the lawn where the midday sun was burning every blade of grass. My temples tightened from trying to keep my face calm. "Some kind of chemical," Chad said, still holding the ice pack in place. "I don't know. I had to come home and ice it." "Chemical." I chewed my lower lip gently. My teeth pressed into the skin, making a little dent. The faint sweet taste of lip balm spread on my tongue. "Your work has chemicals?" I asked, sounding purely curious. "I thought your office just had computers and coffee." Chad blinked. His eyes went up to the ceiling, down to the floor, then stopped at the ice pack in his lap. Sweat was beading on his forehead. Not sweat from heat. Cold sweat, the kind that shows up when your body is in mild shock. Tiny little drops of sweat sat on his eyebrows, glistening under the light. "Well, Mom's garage has chemicals," he said quickly. Too quickly. I was careless. "Oh, your mom's garage." I nodded like that was the most reasonable explanation in the world. "I thought you went to help her with housework. Turns out you were helping with chemicals." Chad didn't say anything. He just sat there, both hands holding the ice pack, staring into space. I got up from the couch. My knees were a little weak, not from sickness. It was excitement. The kind that makes your hands and feet shaky, your palms sweaty, your throat dry. I walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge. Cold air hit my face, tightening my skin. I pulled out the freezer drawer, grabbed a few ice cubes, and put them in a new plastic bag. The ice clinked against each other, a crisp sound like breaking glass. I went back to the living room, handed the ice pack to Chad. Here, use this too. I reached out, the ice pack so cold my fingertips went numb. That hot, huh? Chad took the ice pack. His hand touched mine for a split second. His skin was abnormally hot, like he'd just been sitting in a car with no AC in the middle of a Houston afternoon. He didn't look me in the eye. His eyes stayed on the new ice pack in his hand, then on the old one in his lap, like he was comparing them. Yeah, hot, his voice trailed off. I sat down on the chair across from him. My knees touched each other, hands on my thighs. I leaned forward a little, just enough to look concerned. Do you need me to take you to the doctor? Chad shook his head. His head shake was weak, just a little tilt left, then right. His neck seemed stiff, like even turning his head hurt. No, I'm fine, just need rest. I nodded, a slow, loving nod. Okay, get some rest, I'll make you some porridge. Chad looked at me for the first time since he walked in. His eyes were bloodshot, not from crying, but from dehydration, from his body reacting to the pain. His pupils shrank in the sunlight coming through the window. Porridge? He repeated, like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Yeah, porridge. When you're burned, I remember you're supposed to eat soft, easy-to-digest food. I smiled. Did your mom never make you porridge when you were sick? Yeah, she did. Chad turned his face away. But I'm not hungry. That's fine. We can save it for tonight. I stood up, walked into the kitchen, got rice from the cupboard, turned on the faucet, did the things a good wife is supposed to do, but I didn't start cooking right away. I stood at the sink, letting water run over my hands, and looked out the window. The sun shone straight into my face. My eyes stung. I laughed, not out loud, just a little smirk, held long enough to make my face muscles hurt. That night, Chad went to bed early. Before 9 p.m., he was lying in bed, a new ice pack in the same old spot. He didn't eat dinner, didn't watch TV, just lay there, staring at the ceiling, breathing through his mouth. I lay next to him, my face toward the ceiling, eyes wide open in the dark. Outside the window, streetlight cast faint, blurry streaks on the ceiling. Chad's breathing was heavy, uneven. Every time he exhaled, a soft puff of air came out of his nose. I turned to look at him. The dark hid half his face, but I could still see the hard line of his jaw, the way he clenched the bedsheet with the hand not holding the ice pack. Do you want to tell me something? I whispered. My voice was as light as a breeze over the pillow. Loud enough for him to hear, loud enough for me to hear, but not loud enough to wake anyone in the next room. Chad was quiet for 3 breaths, then, no, I'm tired. Tired. Okay, good night. Let me turn off the light. I reached up to the headboard. My fingers found the switch, clicked it down. Click. The room went dark. I lay down, turning my back to Chad. My eyes were still open. I stared at the wall in front of me, where the faint light from the curtains painted shapeless figures. I smiled in the dark. Not a happy smile. Not a crazy smile either. It was the smile of someone who just won the first round of a game the other player didn't even know they were playing. I closed my eyes. The smell of Chad's shampoo, the peppermint kind he uses, lingered on the pillow, mixed with another smell. A faint, sharp smell, like chemicals, like cold sweat, like fear. I took a deep breath. Good night, Chad. Tomorrow, I'll make porridge, and I'll ask you, with the most innocent face I can manage, if next time you want me to teach you how to wear gloves. Dr. Patient and an awkward explanation. Dr. Martinez asked Chad to take off his pants. I stood outside the curtain, trying not to laugh. Through the thin blue hospital curtain, I heard the doctor ask, You said you got a chemical burn from what? A pause. I don't know. Chad's voice was tiny, like a mosquito. I could picture his face right now, bright red, eyes on the floor, hands twisting the hem of his shirt, the look of a kid caught stealing cookies. I leaned against the clinic wall, arms crossed over my chest. The wall was cold through my thin shirt, the chill seeping into my shoulder blades. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant mixed with old paper. The AC blew straight into my face, drying out my eyes. My lips pressed tight. The muscles at the corners of my mouth pulled like they were tugging an invisible string. I looked up at the ceiling. Fluorescent white lights, the kind that makes everything look sicker than it really is. Behind the curtain, I heard the doctor moving. Rubber shoes on the tile floor, the snap of medical gloves going onto his wrists. Does it hurt here? The doctor's voice was low, steady. Ah, yes, Chad's voice was breathy. And here? Yeah, that too. I bit the inside of my cheek. My teeth pressed into the flesh, hard enough to make a dent, soft enough not to draw blood. A faint metallic taste spread on my tongue. 5 minutes later, Dr. Martinez stepped out from behind the curtain. He was around 50, salt and pepper hair, brown eyes, a serious face. He wore black-rimmed glasses, the kind that make you look smarter than you really are. The back of his white coat was a little wrinkled, like he'd been sitting in his office too long before seeing us. He looked at me. His eyes narrowed slightly. Not from annoyance, but the look of someone trying to piece things together. "Do you know what your husband does for work?" he asked. His voice was low, steady, but there was something underneath. Curiosity hiding behind a professional mask. "Construction engineer," I answered. My arms were still crossed. The fingers of my right hand tapped lightly on my left arm. Not nervous, just an unconscious rhythm. Dr. Martinez nodded, then he shook his head. "That's strange." He looked toward the curtain, where Chad's shadow sat on the exam table, legs dangling. "These burns. They look like burns from something spicy, not industrial chemicals." I felt the muscles in the back of my neck tighten. That feeling, like someone just flipped a switch inside my spine. It wasn't worry, it was alertness. A sharp, clear alertness that made my fingertips tingle. "What do you mean, doctor?" I asked, my voice going up half an octave. My eyes went wide, eyebrows raised. I'd practiced this expression in the mirror before leaving home, and it was perfect. Dr. Martinez looked at me. He looked at me a little longer, and in his eyes, I saw something change. His pupils dilated just a bit. The muscles around his eyes relaxed. The corner of his mouth twitched. Not a smile, just a relaxation of his face muscles, like he'd just solved a puzzle. "Maybe he's allergic to something used externally," he said, still looking at me. He emphasized used externally. I didn't blink. "Oh," I said, "and used externally, like a cream or something?" "Something like that." Dr. Martinez turned and walked to the desk in the corner. He picked up a clipboard and wrote something. His back was slightly hunched, pen moving across paper in a steady scratch, scratch. The blue curtain pulled back. Chad stepped out. He'd put his pants back on, but his walk was still weird. Legs a little wide, like he'd been riding a horse for 3 days straight. His face was bright red. Red from his neck all the way to his ears. His ears were so red I could see the tiny little blood vessels on the edges. "The doctor said I have contact dermatitis," Chad said, not looking at me. His eyes were glued to the wall behind me. "From a strong irritant." Contact dermatitis. I repeated those 3 words in my head. Contact dermatitis. Sounded very official, very medical, very different from the phrase "wearing chili pepper condoms." "What kind of irritant, doctor?" I asked, turning to Dr. Martinez. He put his pen down, looked at me, then at Chad, then back at me. "Could be chili peppers," he said, "habanero or something similarly spicy." His voice was as calm as a weather report. "Today will be sunny, high of 95, and there might be habanero peppers on your husband's private parts." I turned to Chad. "Did you touch any chili peppers?" I asked, my voice full of innocence. Chad shook his head, shook it too fast. His neck was stiff, the head shake like an electric jolt. "No," he said, "I didn't touch any chili peppers." His eyes still wouldn't meet mine. Dr. Martinez picked up his pen again, wrote a few more lines, then tore the prescription off the pad, handed it to Chad. "Apply this cream twice a day. Avoid contact with irritants for at least a week." He looked at Chad. "And use appropriate protection." Chad took the prescription. His hand was shaking a little. His knuckles were white from gripping it tight. "Thank you, doctor," he said quietly. "I'll be right back," Chad said to me, then shuffled out of the clinic toward the hallway. The door closed behind him. Dr. Martinez looked at me. He looked at me for a long time. I stood still, arms still crossed. My palms were a little sweaty, a light sweat on the bridge of my nose. "Ma'am," the doctor said, quieter now. "I'm not asking, but if you need a referral for a divorce lawyer, I know someone." I exhaled. Not a sigh. A soft breath out, like someone had just loosened a rope around my chest. My shoulder muscles relaxed, my shoulder blades dropped. I looked at Dr. Martinez. His eyes weren't judging, weren't pitying either. Just understanding, the kind of understanding from someone who's seen so much in life that nothing surprises him anymore. "Thank you, doctor," I said. My voice was calm, but I don't need that yet. I smiled, a small smile, lasting exactly 1 second. "I'm still enjoying myself." Dr. Martinez looked at me for another 3 seconds. Then the corner of his mouth lifted. This time for real. Half his face pulled up into a dry smile, like someone who just heard a dark joke and decided he liked it. "Oh, got it," he said. "Then keep enjoying. But when you need it, I'm still here." In the car on the way home. Chad sat in the passenger seat, ice pack on his lap. He looked out the window, face still red. eyes still not looking at me. His hand gripped the door handle, knuckles white. I drove, both hands on the wheel at 10 and 2. Houston streets on a Monday afternoon were crowded, cars bumper to bumper, distant honks echoing. That doctor was guessing, Chad muttered. There's no chili pepper. I kept my eyes on the road, didn't turn to him. Yeah, he probably got it wrong, I said. Or did you eat something too spicy? I never eat spicy food. Chad's voice went up. He turned to me for the first time since this morning, looking straight at my face. His eyes were bloodshot, glistening with something. Not tears, but pent-up frustration. Weird, I said, my voice still even. I turned the wheel right onto a side street. Trees on both sides cast cool shade on the windshield. A pause. The car AC blew hard, making my hair flutter. I could smell Chad's cologne, the one he uses every day, mixed with something else. The smell of ointment from the clinic. And underneath it all, a very faint, very familiar smell. Chili peppers? I gripped the wheel tighter. The muscles in my forearms tensed. Do you want to call your mom and tell her about this? I asked. I'm sure she'd be worried. No, Chad said too fast. Don't call anyone. I nodded. Okay, up to you. I stopped at a red light. My foot pressed the brake, sole pushing into the pedal. In the rearview mirror, I saw a white truck stop behind me. But I think Brittany should know too, I said. My voice as casual as if I were commenting on the weather. Chad didn't say anything. She told me she had the exact same thing a few days ago, I continued. What a coincidence, right? The car went silent. No sound at all, no breathing, no engine, just the steady hum of the AC. Chad sat frozen like a statue. I looked at him from the corner of my eye. He was staring straight ahead. His jaw was clenched tight, his temple muscle twitching slightly. Sweat beaded on his forehead even though the car was very cool. The light turned green. I released the brake and pressed the gas. The car slowly rolled forward. For the rest of the drive, neither of us said a word. I smiled, only in my head. The muscles on my face stayed calm, the expression of a wife focused on driving. But inside my chest, something was burning. And this time it wasn't chili peppers. Midpoint. Confession to myself at 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep, not because my conscience was bothering me, because I was laughing. In my head, Brittany screaming, burning, Chad icing himself, the doctor saying chili peppers. All of it spinning around like a terrible comedy. And I was the director. The clock on the nightstand blinked blue, 2:03 a.m. Chad lay next to me, mouth slightly open, snoring steadily. A raspy, wet sound, like someone stirring a thin pot of porridge. His hand was still on the ice pack, even though the ice had long since melted, leaving just a bag of warm water. He slept like a baby with a burned crotch from chili pepper condoms. I lay still, eyes wide open in the dark. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Dr. Martinez's face when he said the words habanero pepper. The way he looked at me, the way the corner of his mouth twitched, like he wanted to say, I know, I'm not asking, but I know. And I'd start laughing again. Not out loud, just a little vibration in my chest, my ribs rubbing together, my stomach muscles clenched in ways. I pushed the blanket off. My feet hit the floor. Cold hardwood, the chill seeping into my soles, making my toes curl. I stood up and walked barefoot out of the room. The bedroom door creaked as I opened it. I stopped, held my breath, looked back at Chad. He was still snoring, didn't move. I went down the stairs. Every step had its own sound. The third step squeaked. The seventh was silent. I'd memorized these sounds after 8 years in this house. I knew exactly which footsteps would wake the kids and which wouldn't. In the kitchen, I turned on the stove light. Not the ceiling light, just the little one above the sink. Golden orange light spread across the granite counter, highlighting the tiny scratches I'd never had time to buff out. I opened the cupboard and got the chamomile tea, the yellow box, the kind I'd bought at Whole Foods 3 months ago. I pulled out one tea bag and dropped it into a white ceramic mug, the one with World's Okayest Mom printed on it, the one Mia gave me last year. Then I opened the fridge. My hand went through the vegetable drawer, searching for the little corner at the very bottom, where I keep pre-cut ginger slices in a plastic container. I took out 2 slices. I looked at them. Thin ginger slices, pale yellow, edges a little dry. I dropped them into the mug. Hot water from the kettle poured into the cup. Steam rose up, carrying the sweet smell of chamomile, and underneath, the sharp, spicy smell of ginger straight up my nose. I took a deep breath. That spicy smell, I was starting to like it. I sat down at the kitchen table, the hot mug between my palms. The heat made my hands red, my fingertips slowly going numb from the temperature. I looked out the window. Outside, the sky was pitch black, not a single star. The oak trees in the front yard cast long shadows on the grass, bare branches looking like bony fingers clawing at the dark. In the distance, a car drove by, the engine sound fading and then gone. For the first time, I asked myself, am I going too far? My hands tightened around the mug. My knuckles went white. That question hung in my head like a balloon stuck on the ceiling. I looked at it. I considered it. I turned it over and over in my mind like a cold stone. And then I remembered. 2 years ago, same kitchen, same table. I sat in this exact spot, but different. Completely different. It was 11 p.m. Chad was on a business trip. Dallas for 2 days, honey. I was folding the kids' laundry on the couch when Chad's phone, the old one he'd forgotten at home, buzzed on the kitchen table. I wasn't going to look, really. But it buzzed again and again. I walked over, picked it up. The screen lit up. I miss you so much. A text from a number with no name, but with a profile picture, a blonde woman, Chad's coworker. I'd met her at the Christmas party that year. I cried. I remember that feeling. Tears streaming from my eyes, hot, running down my cheeks, down my chin, falling onto my t-shirt. My hands shook so bad, I almost dropped the phone. My nose got stuffy. I had to breathe through my mouth. My chest ached like someone was hammering my breastbone. I cried for 2 hours straight, so long that my eyes got puffy, so long that Mia woke up and asked, "Mommy, why are you crying?" And I had to lie and say, "Mommy just has allergies, baby." Chad came home. I gave him the phone. I asked, "Who is this?" He said it was just a friend, just joking around, honey. I would never do anything to hurt you. And I believed him. I forgave him. I let him hold me on that couch, let him pat my back and say, "I'm sorry, I'll never do it again." That was 2 years ago. And he did it again. Only this time, I didn't find out through a text. This time I found out through a box of condoms in his car. This time the woman wasn't a blonde coworker. It was my best friend. I took a sip of tea. The hot water burned my tongue, the sweet chamomile and spicy ginger mixing together, flowing down my throat. I swallowed. The burning sensation spread down my esophagus, down to my stomach. I didn't cry this time. I realized that. This time I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't lie on the couch waiting for him to come home and explain. This time I acted. And I liked that feeling. I liked it so much it scared me. Some people would call me crazy. But I'm just giving back what they gave me. They gave me betrayal. I gave them chili peppers, fair trade. I put the mug down on the table. My hands weren't shaking anymore. The muscles in my jaw relaxed. My shoulders dropped, my shoulder blades touching the back of the chair. I picked up my phone. The screen lit up, making my eyes sting a little. I opened the Notes app. My thumb typed on the keyboard, letters appearing on the black background. Chili peppers. I paused, looked at that line, then kept typing. Laxatives. I looked at the second line, my lips curled up. So, the list is still long. I read it all again, once, twice. My finger moved to the save button, pressed it. The screen said saved. I turned off the phone and placed it face down on the table. The glass touched the granite with a soft click. I looked out the window again. The sky outside was still pitch black, but I could see a tiny glimmer of light on the horizon. Maybe a streetlight, maybe a star, maybe just a light from a distant house. The question wasn't whether I should stop. The question was, what will I use next time? I picked up the mug and drank the rest. The tea had gone cold, but the ginger taste was still there, spicy on my tongue, warm in my throat. I stood up, washed the mug, put it on the drying rack, turned off the kitchen light. Darkness returned. I went up the stairs, each step steady, sure. The soles of my feet were used to the cold wood. My hand held the railing, the smooth wood under my palm, into the bedroom. Chad was still in the same spot, mouth still open, snoring steadily. He'd let go of the ice pack, the bag lying next to him on the sheet, leaving a large wet patch. I pulled the blanket up and lay down. I lay on my side facing him, face to face with his back in the dark. I could smell him, sweat, lotion, ointment from the clinic, and underneath it all, a very faint, very familiar smell. Chili peppers, I whispered, quieter than a breath. Sleep well. Tomorrow I'll call Brittany, ask her if the fire has gone out yet. Chad didn't answer. He just kept snoring. I closed my eyes. In my head, a voice asked, "Are you sure you're okay?" And another voice, my voice, but stronger, colder, more awake, answered, "Better than ever." I slept like a baby. Brittany and Chad, the blame game. I didn't mean to spy on them. Actually, I did mean to. I knew Chad was meeting Brittany at this coffee shop because I'd looked at the calendar on his phone. I showed up 15 minutes early, picked a table with a perfect view, and ordered a large latte. This was a show, and I had VIP tickets. The daily grind. At 4 p.m. on a Wednesday was packed. Coffee grinders buzzing, cups clinking, soft jazz from the ceiling speakers. The smell of dark roast mixed with the smell of pastries from the counter, making a warm, pleasant aroma. I sat at a corner table by the window, facing the main aisle. My face was turned toward the door, but my eyes were fixed on a table 2 rows away, near the coffee bar under the warm yellow lights. That table was empty. I took a sip of latte. The bitter coffee mixed with the creamy milk, warm, flowing down my throat. The tip of my tongue was a little numb from the heat. My hand held the cup, my palms slowly warming up. Slowly. I checked the clock on my phone, 4:03 p.m. They were late. I put the phone down on the table, face down. My thumb tapped lightly on the wooden table, a steady rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. Eyes never left the front door. 4:07 p.m. The door opened. Chad walked in first. He was still walking a little stiff, legs wider than normal, but better than yesterday. He wore the blue shirt I'd ironed for him this morning. His hair was gelled, neat, trying to look normal. Brittany followed. She wore a pink floral dress, curly hair down, but her face was not normal. No makeup. Her eyes were a little swollen, nose red, lips dry. She looked like she'd been crying the whole drive there. I lowered my head, took out my phone, pretended to scroll Facebook. But my eyes peeked over the top of the phone, watching every move they made. Chad pointed to the table near the coffee bar. Brittany nodded. They walked over and sat down across from each other. I put my phone down and took another sip of latte. Showtime. They talked quietly. Their voices were just low enough not to be heard by the people next to them, but I was close. Closer than they thought. Brittany leaned forward, both hands on the table. Her knuckles were white, fingernails digging into the tabletop. Her mouth moved, eyes wide and watery. You told me the condoms were brand new. So why did this happen? Her voice was high, shaky, but I could hear every word through the noise of the shop. Chad rubbed his eyes. He looked around, the look of someone checking if anyone was eavesdropping. His eyes scanned past me. I lowered my head, face still toward my phone. I don't know, Chad said, his voice low but loud enough for me to hear the frustration in it. Someone sabotaged them. Brittany shook her head. Her hair fell over her face and she brushed it behind her ear. A familiar, everyday move. But this time her hand was shaking. Who, your wife? Brittany asked. I held my breath. Vivian, no way, she doesn't know. I took a sip of latte. She really doesn't know, I thought. My hand held the cup, fingers squeezing lightly into the ceramic. The latte was still hot, steam rising and blurring part of my face. I don't know anything. I'm just a harmless housewife sitting here, drinking coffee, accidentally witnessing everything. I put the cup down. My lips curled up just a little. Not enough for anyone far away to see, but enough for me to feel the muscles at the corners of my mouth pull up. Brittany started crying. Tears ran down her face, down her cheeks, down her chin. She didn't wipe them, just let them fall onto the table, onto her hands. Her nose got redder. She gasped for air, her shoulders shaking in waves. I got burned really bad, Brittany said, her voice choked up. The doctor said it might leave scars. I stared at my latte. The foam on top had started to break apart, forming tiny little holes. Scars. I hadn't thought about that. My conscience twinged. Not painful, just a light touch, like a finger tapping my shoulder. Then it was gone. I thought about 2 years ago, about the tears I cried on that couch, about how I believed Chad, about how he said, I'm sorry, and then did it again, this time with my best friend. The muscles in my jaw tightened. I didn't feel guilty. I felt fair. Chad reached his hand toward Brittany, like he was going to touch her hand, but then pulled back. He looked around again. His eyes scanned past me. This time I looked straight at him. No hiding, no looking down. I looked him right in the eye. Chad didn't see me. His eyes glided past like I was part of the scenery, a picture on the wall, an empty chair, a lifeless object. He looked away. I'm suffering too, Chad said, his voice a little louder. You think I'm happy about this? They started arguing. Their voices went up and down, sometimes choked, sometimes sharp. Their hands waved in the air. Brittany pointed at Chad's face. Chad shook his head over and over. You said you checked the condoms. I did check them. I even opened one. Opened one to look. Then who did it? A ghost? You're asking me, I'm asking you. Then they both went quiet. A long, heavy silence. So deep I could hear the wall clock ticking, the espresso machine hissing from the counter. Brittany spoke, quieter now, almost a whisper. Maybe some crazy person? Chad nodded. Yeah, some crazy person. I laughed. Not out loud, just a vibration in my chest, making the latte cup on my table tremble slightly. My hand reached out and steadied it. A crazy person. I liked that name. I stood up. My latte was more than half empty. foam residue at the bottom of the cup. I picked it up and walked toward the counter to return it, but I didn't go straight to the counter. I walked right past their table. I walked slow enough for them to have time to see me, slow enough for me to watch their faces change. I pretended to be surprised. "Oh, Chad, Britt, what a coincidence." My voice was high, cheerful, full of the energy of someone who just happened to run into acquaintances in public. Chad and Brittany both looked up. Chad's face went pale. Not sickly pale, the pale of someone who just got punched in the gut. His skin went from rosy to white in less than a second. His eyes went wide, pupils shrinking. Brittany, too. She froze, mouth slightly open, her hand holding a water glass frozen in midair. Her cheeks, which had been red from crying, were now white, dotted with tears that hadn't dried yet. I stood there, smiling, a big, friendly, energetic smile. "Britt, why do you look so sad? What's wrong?" Brittany stammered. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. She swallowed. I could see her throat move up and down. Nothing's wrong," she said, her voice like a mosquito. I tilted my head, my shoulders relaxed, making a 15-degree angle. "Oh, really?" I looked at Brittany, then at Chad. "Hey, remember last time you told me you had that burning down there? Is it gone yet?" Brittany and Chad both froze solid. I'd never seen anyone go so still. They looked like two statues, not breathing, not blinking, not swallowing. Brittany's mouth hung open. Chad's mouth hung open. I stood there, smiling, waiting. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. "Britt, did I hear you say someone sabotaged them?" I asked, my voice still casual. "Did you get robbed?" Brittany shook her head. Shook it too fast, too hard, her hair flying. No, I was just talking about nothing." "Okay, go home and get some rest." I looked at Chad. "Hey, why is your face so red? You got sunburn too?" Chad put his hand up to cover his face. His hand was shaking. "Yeah, sunburn," he said. "It's really sunny outside." I nodded. "Then you should use sunscreen. I have a really good kind. I'll get you some when we get home." I turned to Brittany, waved. "Bye-bye, you two. Don't forget the sunscreen. It's really sunny out there." I walked out the door. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. I knew they were watching me. I knew they were frozen, mouths still hanging open, eyes still wide. I knew their heads were spinning with 1,000 questions, and the biggest one was, what does she know? I walked out of the coffee shop. The Houston afternoon sun hit my face warm. A light breeze blew, making my hair move. In my head, a thought flashed. Next time, maybe I should try wasabi. I smiled, and I walked toward my car, feeling light as a feather. Almost caught a heart-stopping moment. Chad came home at 7 p.m. earlier than usual. I was chopping peppers for soup. That habanero smell was rising up again. Chad walked into the kitchen, sniffed, and then suddenly froze. I heard the front door open from the living room, but I didn't turn around. My hand was still holding the knife, the blade covered in orange pepper seeds pressing down on the wooden cutting board. I was on my third pepper out of 5. The slices were getting thinner, arranged in a circle on the board, looking like a poisonous orange flower. The familiar footsteps, leather shoes on the tile floor, thump, thump, thump. I knew Chad was walking toward the kitchen. He always heads to the kitchen when he gets home. To find me, to find food, to find something to fill his mouth. "What are you cooking?" His voice from behind. "Spicy soup," I said, not turning around, trying a new recipe. I heard him stop. The kitchen doorway. About 3 more steps and he'd be right behind me. Then silence. I sliced another piece of pepper. The blade hit the board with a soft thump, and I smelled the peppers. That habanero smell had been in the air since I started chopping 15 minutes ago. It rose up from the board, from the knife, from my hands, even though I was wearing gloves. Chad walked into the kitchen. He walked slow, too slow. I glanced over my shoulder. Chad was standing in the kitchen doorway, his eyes staring at the cutting board, at the orange pepper slices, at my knife. His face went pale. "Do you use these peppers a lot?" His voice was different, not curious, scared. I put the knife down, turned around. "Yeah, I like spicy food," I said, my voice calm. "Why do you ask?" Chad didn't answer right away. He brought his hand to his nose, rubbed it, took a breath. His eyes were still glued to the cutting board. "Nothing, never mind," he swallowed. I saw his throat move. "Smells familiar." I looked at him. My eyes didn't blink. The muscles on my face relaxed into the expression of a wife puzzled by her husband's strange question. "Familiar? You always say you don't eat spicy food." Chad shook his head, didn't say anything. He walked toward the fridge, opened it. Cold air rushed out, making me shiver, even though I was standing 6 feet away. Chad bent down, his eyes scanning the shelves. I turned back to the cutting board, picked up the knife, kept chopping. Slice 12, slice 13. But my ears stayed locked on every sound from the fridge, bottles clinking, Chad rummaging through the bottom shelf. Then silence. I stopped. The knife was mid-slice, not all the way through. Chad spoke, his voice hoarse. "What's in this jar?" I turned around. Chad was holding a small glass jar. The jar I'd used to pickle peppers last time. The jar I'd washed clean, dried, and hidden on the very bottom shelf of the fridge, where I thought he'd never look. A clear glass jar. Inside were orange habanero slices floating in pale yellow liquid. The lid was silver, a little rusty around the edge. My heart skipped. One beat, hard, slamming into my ribs, making my chest puff out. Then I exhaled, slowly. "Pickled peppers," I said, my voice still calm. The muscles in my throat relaxed, pushing the words out naturally. "I use them for soup." I put the knife down, wiped my hands on a towel, walked toward Chad. He was still holding the jar, staring at the pepper slices inside. His hand was shaking a little. I could see it, because his hand was less than an arm's length away. "You want to try one?" I asked. I reached out, took the jar from Chad's hand. He let go, too fast, like the glass jar was burning. I opened the lid. Pop! The pepper smell from inside the jar burst out. Stronger than fresh peppers, more intense. The smell of pepper oil that had soaked into the water, fermented, grown more powerful over time. I held the jar toward Chad. "Try a slice," I said, smiling. "It's really spicy." Chad stepped back. One step, two steps. His back hit the edge of the kitchen table, and he stopped. His face was white. So white I could see every freckle on the bridge of his nose, spots I'd never noticed before. "No," he said, his voice too loud. "I don't eat spicy food." He looked at the jar in my hand like it was a poisonous snake. His hand went up to cover his mouth, cover his nose, like he was afraid that just breathing in the pepper smell would burn him. I looked at him. 1 second, 2 seconds. Then I slowly closed the lid, tightened it. Click. "It's okay," I said, my voice soft. "I'll eat it myself. If you don't like spicy food, I'll make you something else." Chad nodded. He pushed himself away from the table, took another step back toward the door. I'm going upstairs," he said. "Okay, go rest." Yeah. Chad turned and walked fast out of the kitchen. I heard his leather shoes on the stairs. Fast, hurried, like someone was chasing him. I stood still in the kitchen. The glass jar was still in my hand, lid tight. I put it on the shelf, back in its usual spot. Bottom shelf, left corner, behind the milk carton. I breathed out. A long breath from the bottom of my lungs, pushing all the air out. My shoulders relaxed, my shoulder blades dropped. My palms were soaked with sweat. I wiped them on my pants, but they still felt wet. I went back to the cutting board. The pepper slices were still there, bright orange under the kitchen lights. The knife was still next to the board, glistening with pepper oil. I picked up the knife, kept chopping. Slice 14, slice 15. My hands didn't shake. That night, I finished the soup, ate alone at the kitchen table. Chad didn't come down. He said, "I'm not hungry." Through the bedroom door, his voice weak, like he'd just run a marathon. I went to bed at 10 p.m. Chad was curled up on the bed, face to the wall. The blanket pulled up to his chin. He lay still, but I knew he wasn't asleep. His breathing was uneven, fast, then slow, like he was thinking about something. I lay down next to him. A gap between us. Far enough not to touch, close enough for me to see the back of his neck in the dark. A long silence. Then Chad spoke, his voice hoarse. I have a strange feeling." I didn't answer, waited. "Are you hiding something from me?" I looked up at the ceiling. Darkness. Faint streaks of light from the street lamp, making shapeless patterns. I blinked, once slowly my eyelids touching. "I'm hiding a secret from you," I said, my voice soft as a breeze. Chad turned over, faced me. In the dark, I could see his eyes wide open, glistening with a faint light. "What secret?" "I eat peppers every day and never tell you." Silence. I heard Chad exhale. A long breath, like he'd been holding it for seconds. "Are you mad?" I asked. Chad gave a dry laugh, a hollow, emotionless sound. "No," he said. "I was just worried you'd hurt your stomach." "I'm fine," I said. "I'm used to spicy food." Chad didn't answer. He turned back to face the wall. I lay still, staring at the ceiling. "The day I got burned," Chad said, his voice coming from the wall. "The doctor said it was from peppers. Did you know that?" "Yeah," I said. "I thought it was weird too." "Weird," Chad mumbled. A pause. I kept going, my voice still soft. "Or maybe you're allergic to someone's sweat." "Sweat?" Chad's voice was suspicious. "Yeah, like sweat from someone who just ate peppers." I paused for a beat. "Did you hug someone who'd just eaten peppers?" Chad went silent. Not a sound. I could hear him swallow, could hear him grip the bed sheet. "No," Chad said. His voice was small, weak. "I didn't hug anyone." "Weird," I said. Then I closed my eyes. I smiled in the dark. Not a satisfied smile, not a victorious smile either. It was the smile of someone who'd just escaped a danger the other person didn't even know they'd created. I whispered, just loud enough for me to hear, "Good night, honey." Chad didn't answer. I heard him breathing, heavy, worried, unable to sleep. I slept like a baby. Climax, divorce for the kids, not because of Peppers. I don't remember who suggested divorce first. Maybe it was Chad after he couldn't stand the feeling of being watched anymore. Maybe it was me after I realized I was just bored. But either way, here we are. Today, it's all over and my kids are sitting out there waiting for me to walk out the door. Attorney Thompson's office is on the 12th floor of a glass building in downtown Houston. Outside the window, the sky is clear blue, not a cloud in sight. Sunlight pours through the glass, casting long shadows on the gray carpet. The air in the room is cold. The AC set to 65, cold enough to give me goosebumps on my arms. Attorney Thompson sits at the head of the table. She's around 45, short brown hair, wearing a charcoal suit, no jewelry except a square-faced watch. Her face is dry, no wrinkles, but her brown eyes are sharp as a razor. I sit on the left side of the table. Chad sits on the right. Between us is an empty space, wide enough not to touch, narrow enough for me to smell his cologne. The expensive French kind I gave him for his birthday last year. Attorney Thompson opens a thick file folder, the sound of paper rustling in the silent room. "I'll read the main term," she says, her voice flat, emotionless. "Assets split evenly. Custody of the 2 children, Mia, 8, and Jacob, 5, goes to Mrs. Vivian. Mr. Chad gets visitation rights on weekends and will pay monthly child support as agreed." She pauses, looks at Chad, then at me. "Does everyone agree?" "Yes," I say. Chad is quiet. 1 second, 2 seconds. I see his hands on the table, fingers laced together, knuckles white. "Yes," he says, his voice small. Attorney Thompson pushes 2 copies of the agreement toward us. Pens are next to them, 2 black ballpoints, cheap ones with the firm's logo. I pick up a pen. The tip touches the paper, making a soft scratch. I sign my name, Vivian Marie Hastings. Each letter round and steady, like I'm placing an Amazon order. I put the pen down. Chad still hasn't signed. He looks at me. "Are you sure?" His voice is hoarse, eyes red. I look at him. My eyes don't blink. "Are you really asking that after everything?" Chad lowers his head. His neck bends, the back of his neck exposed under the light. The spot I used to kiss every morning before he left for work. Now it's just bare skin. Nothing special. "I'm sorry for everything," he says. I tilt my head, my shoulders relax. "Are you sorry for cheating, for getting burned, or for the kids growing up without a dad at home?" Chad freezes. He sits there like a statue. His mouth opens, then closes. Opens, closes. No sound comes out. His eyes look at me, then down at the table, then out the window, then back at me. Attorney Thompson glances at me. A quick look, no one else sees it but me. In her eyes, I see a glint. Not a smile, not judgment. It looks like respect. I smile a little, a 1-second smile, just enough for the corners of my mouth to curl up. "I'm kidding," I say. "Just sign it. I have to take the kids to lunch." Chad looks at me for 3 more seconds. Then he picks up the pen. His hand is shaking. I can see it clearly because his hand is only a foot away from mine. The pen touches the paper, and he signs his name, Chad Michael Hastings. Each letter messy and rushed, like he's writing in a hurricane. He puts the pen down. "It's done," Attorney Thompson says. She collects both copies, puts them back in the file. "The court will send the final copies within 2 weeks. Chad stands up. His chair screeches. On the floor. He looks at me, like he wants to say something, but then doesn't. "I'll wait outside with the kids," he says, then walks out of the room. The door closes behind him. Attorney Thompson looks at me. She leans back in her chair, hands folded over her stomach. "Ma'am, I've been doing this for 20 years, she says. "I've never seen anyone so calm during a divorce. Want to share your secret?" I look at her. There's no sarcasm in her eyes. Just genuine curiosity from someone who's seen too many lives fall apart. "Peppers, ma'am," I say, "and 2 kids. Attorney Thompson looks at me a moment longer. Then the corner of her mouth lifts, the first time I've seen her smile. "I won't ask," she says, "but if you need anything, call me." "Thank you," I say. I stand up, push my chair in, and walk to the door. Out in the hallway, Mia and Jacob are sitting on the waiting chairs. The babysitter, a young woman with a ponytail, sits next to them, reading a comic book to Jacob. Mia has a book in her lap, but she's not looking at the pages. She's looking at the lawyer's office door. When I walk out, Mia stands up immediately. "Mom, is Dad going to live with us anymore?" I kneel down. My knees hit the floor, cold tile, the chill seeping through my pants. I reach out and take Mia's hand. Her hand is small, warm, a little sweaty. "Now, Dad won't live with us anymore," I say, my voice as soft as I can make it. "But he's still your dad. He'll come visit." Mia looks at me. Her big, round brown eyes, just like mine, are watery. Will he visit a lot? Yes, I say. Come in. Jacob starts crying. Her cry echoes in the empty hallway, a loud sound tearing through the silence. Jacob clings to the chair, her face bright red, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her lip trembles, shaking. I want Daddy, Jacob wails. Chad appears from somewhere. I don't know how long he'd been standing at the end of the hallway. He rushes over, kneels down, and pulls Jacob into his arms. Daddy's here, Chad says, his voice choked. Daddy's right here. Jacob hugs Chad's neck, sobbing. Her tiny little fingers dig into his collar, like she's afraid he'll disappear. Chad looks at me over Jacob's shoulder. His eyes are red, tears running down his cheeks. I've never seen Chad cry. Not at our wedding, not when the kids were born, not when his dad died. Now he's crying. I stand there watching. My heart twists. That feeling, it comes from somewhere deep in my chest, from under my breastbone, from the place where I've hidden everything all these years. It's like a hand squeezing my heart, making it small, making it hurt. I don't cry. I kneel down next to Jacob. I stroke her hair, soft, smooth, smelling like apricot shampoo. Jacob, I say, my voice gentle, and Dad will come visit on weekends, Mommy promises. Jacob is still crying, but softer now. Little hiccups caught in her throat. I look at Chad, he looks at me. And we don't say anything to each other. I stand up, hold my hand out to Mia. She takes it. Let's go get lunch, I say. In the parking lot. The Houston midday sun beats down on the asphalt, heat rising from the ground. The smell of pavement and car exhaust mixed together. That special Texas summer smell. I open the car door, help Mia and Jacob into the back seat. Buckle them both in. Jacob is still sniffling, but she's stopped crying. Mia is quiet, staring out the window. I close the back door. Chad is standing next to my car. He's waiting there, in the sun, hands in his pockets, shoulders slightly hunched. Sweat beads on his forehead. But he doesn't step into the shade. Can you tell me the truth, he asks. His voice is hoarse, dry, like he's been crying a lot. The pepper thing, was it you? I look at him. The sun shines straight into my eyes, making me squint. I can feel tiny drops of sweat on the bridge of my nose, on my upper lip. I look into the car. Through the window, I see Mia watching me. Her big round eyes are fixed on me, like she's trying to understand what's happening between the two adults. I smile. Where's the fire, Chad? Chad freezes. I open the car door, get in the driver's seat. The door closes. Thud. I put the key in, start the engine. The motor hums. That warm, familiar sound. I pull the seatbelt, click it in. I look at Chad through the window. He's still standing there, mouth slightly open, eyes wide. His hands have come out of his pockets, hanging at his sides. I press the gas. The car slowly rolls forward. In the rearview mirror, I see Chad standing in the middle of the parking lot, his shadow long on the hot asphalt. He doesn't chase after me, doesn't call my name. Just stands there like an uprooted tree. I look straight ahead. Mia asks from the back seat, her voice small, Mom, is something wrong with Dad? I look in the rearview mirror. The mirror reflects Mia's face, worried but calmer than I expected. I smile. Dad's fine. He just needs rest. I look at the road, grip the wheel tight, and drive toward the sun. Aftermath, 1 year later at the grocery store. 1 year after the divorce, I ran into Chad and Brittany in the produce section. They were standing in front of the pepper display. Brittany was holding a sweet red bell pepper. Chad was holding a habanero. They were both staring at that pepper like it was a bomb. Sunday afternoon at Whole Foods is always crowded. Warm yellow lights shine down on the rows of green and red vegetables, the smell of fresh bread from the bakery filling the whole store. I'm pushing my cart, which has milk for Jacob, cookies for Mia, and 3 perfectly ripe avocados. I was looking for red bell peppers to make salsa when I saw them. Chad is wearing a gray t-shirt and khaki shorts. He looks thinner than a year ago. Hair cut short, a few silver strands at his temples. Brittany is wearing a blue floral dress, hair up in a high ponytail, younger looking than I remember. They're standing close together, shoulders touching, like a normal couple. But their hands are shaking as they hold the peppers. I push my cart closer. The wheels roll on the tile floor with a soft rumble. I stop about 3 feet away, smiling, the biggest, brightest smile I have. Hey, you two, long time no see. Chad and Brittany jump. Brittany drops the bell pepper. It rolls on the floor, bright red, stopping at the feet of a store employee who's stacking apples. Chad almost knocks over the pepper bin. His hand flies up. The habanero leaves his hand, but he catches it before it hits the ground. Their faces go pale. I stand there, hands on my card, smiling. Brittany forces a smile. Her smile is crooked, the muscles at the corners of her mouth twitching like she's trying to pull them up, but they won't cooperate. Vivian, how are you? Her voice is high, shaky, like a mouse squeaking. I'm good, I say. And how about you? Is the burning gone yet? Brittany turns red from her neck all the way to her ears. Her face is so red I can see every tiny blood vessel in her cheeks. She looks at the floor, at the ceiling, into her shopping cart, anywhere but my eyes. Yes, it's gone, she says, her voice tiny as a mosquito. Chad puts the habanero back on the shelf. His hand is still shaking. I can see it clearly. Vivian, he says, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I look at him. My eyes don't blink. The muscles on my face relax into a neutral, calm expression. You said that already, I forgave you. Chad hesitates. His lips move like he wants to say more, but doesn't know where to start. I don't give him the chance. So, are you two buying peppers? Brittany and Chad look at each other, a long, panicked look. No, Chad says too fast. We're buying bell peppers, just bell peppers. He grabs a green bell pepper, throws it in his cart. His hand is still shaking. I walk over to the pepper display. My hand reaches out and picks up a bright orange habanero. It's small, just the size of my thumb tip, but its color is so bright it looks like a poisonous candy. I bring it to my nose, smell it. That familiar pepper smell goes straight up my nose, making the bridge of my nose tighten. I take a deep breath. I like these, I say. I'm really spicy, but good. Brittany swallows. I hear the gulp from her throat. Chad takes a step back, unconsciously, like his body is automatically reacting to danger. I put the pepper down. Turn around, push my cart away. The wheels roll on the floor, a steady sound. Rumble, rumble, rumble. I walk slowly, not in a hurry. At the end of the aisle, I stop. Turn around. Chad and Brittany are still standing at the pepper display, pressed close together, faces still pale. They don't dare look at me. Their eyes are glued to the peppers in front of them, like those peppers might jump up and bite them at any moment. I smile. Oh, hey, Chad. Next time you get a new girlfriend, make sure to check the condoms carefully. Wouldn't want you to burn your house down. I laugh. A soft laugh, brief, just loud enough for them to hear. Then I turn and push my cart toward the checkout. Out in the parking lot. The Houston late afternoon sun is golden orange, stretching across the black asphalt. The air is hot and humid, carrying the smell of dry grass and distant car exhaust. I open the trunk, load my bags in, milk, cookies, avocados, red bell peppers. A young woman parks next to me. She's about 25, blonde hair in a ponytail, wearing pink yoga pants. She gets out of her car, carrying a reusable cloth bag, looking around the parking lot like she's trying to find the entrance. She sees me and walks over. Excuse me, do you know where the habanero peppers are? I've been looking everywhere. I close the trunk. Thud. I point toward the store entrance. Produce section, third bin from the left. The woman nods, smiles. Thanks. She turns to go. But be careful, I say. The woman stops, looks back at me. That stuff, it's really hot. The woman laughs, a clear, carefree laugh. I know, I love spicy food. Then she runs into the store, her ponytail swinging with every step. I stand there watching her disappear through the glass doors. I get in the car, sit in the driver's seat. My hands rest on the wheel, my palms warming up from the heat inside the car. I start the engine. The motor hums that familiar warm sound. I look through the window toward the store, where the young woman just disappeared. Where's the fire? I repeat, whispering to myself. Then I laugh. Not a loud laugh, not a triumphant laugh, just a soft laugh. Brief, like a cool breeze at the end of the day. I press the gas and drive out of the parking lot. Ahead of me, the sun is slowly setting toward the horizon, painting the whole Houston sky orange. The color of habanero peppers, the color of fire, the color of what burned down one marriage and lit up a new life. I drive home. Home to Mia and Jacob. Home to peace. Where's the fire? There's no fire. Just me, my kids, and a fridge full of peppers.